President Trump, quote, "I'm not a big believer in global warming." Rip it out by the roots, this Paris Climate Treaty. CLEXIT. Passed. And when we look back in history over the last 800 years, do you ever ask yourself, why did the temperatures drop and then rise again without all the influence of CO2? We're on track to begin the grand solar minimum and another mini ice age right now. And how the media overlooked all the cooling events happening globally is beyond me. Eastern half of the U.S., below normal. It's only going to get up into the 50s in Boston. Yeah, it's in June already. It's summer. Adelaide, coldest start to winter since 1943. Finland, coldest May in 50 years. Still snowing in Moscow. Still snowing in St. Petersburg. 18-degree below normal temperatures coming across Europe this week. And you notice the same areas that I just showed you match up with the Maunder minimum cooling. Those drops in temperature and then again the rise in temperature of up to 2°C, well before CO2 and factories and automobiles were around. Natural variability. Let's make science great again. The blueprint for amplification is right in front of you. And as you're watching the video, please remember to subscribe to Adapt 2030. Oh, the media is having a field day because President Trump pulled out of the socialist redistribution of wealth called the Paris Climate Treaty. I'm going to agree, rip that thing out by the roots, dump gasoline on it, light that thing on fire, never to be seen again. CLEXIT. It is time that we really take a look at why the temperatures dropped in the past up to 2°C and then rose again several times in the last couple thousand years. Nobody talks about this at the IPCC. It is taboo to talk about natural variability, electric universe, cycles in the sun, and cycles on our planet driven by the sun. And because there are other scientists around this planet who will question CO2 global warming, we now have a forecast as to when our planet is going to start cooling in this new grand solar minimum. I just added the lines in there with the red dots so you can see the amplification. The first amplification of our weather will start occurring at the end of July into December of 2017, as you can see that gap widening. These are the canceling waves on the sun that are going to affect our weather on Earth. And when we go from 2018 to 2019, that is a 4x increase compared to all of 2016 and 17 length of time combined. We're going to 4x that. And while the media squawks about the loss of jobs because we're not going to make solar panels, while forgetting Nikola Tesla's inventions where we can actually pull electricity from the ether, wireless electricity, forget about that. Just got to be solar panels for the jobs. What about all the cooling events happening across the United States, cooler than normal in the east? Boston's only going to be up into the low 50s in June 6th. We are in summertime. Finland, coldest May in nearly half a century. And it deviated from the long-term average by 2.7 degrees Celsius. Keep that in your head, 2.7 C. We take a look over at Russia. These shelf clouds are absolutely stunning. Wet snow falling over Moscow. So much that it's making the news in Russia that it's snowing in Moscow in June. Also St. Petersburg. It's not an isolated event. Taking a look at the temperature map moving forward into June 9th. 15 degree below normal temperatures in Eastern Europe. 6 to 7 C below normal in Western Europe. Let's jump to the Southern Hemisphere. Adelaide, coldest start to the winter since 1943. And here's a temperature reconstruction map of the Maunder minimum, 1640s. That dark blue is where the temperatures dropped at least 1°C during the Maunder minimum. Do you see any matches over these stories I opened up with? Now taking a look at tree ring reconstruction of temperature. Everywhere you see a number, 536, 940, 1258. That was a grand solar minimum. Notice how the temperatures dropped up to 2°C. And then they warmed back up naturally above the zero mark, which actually took that to 2.5 or maybe even 3°C. In some of the heavier instances, like 1453 or 536, there's no factories, no cars, no industry, no CO2 above the normal baseline levels. So you're telling me that the temperature rose 3C in 536 AD, and it was because of man-induced climate change. Or in 1453, that the temperature rose 2.5C. But the same media talking heads that are so focused on losing one job in solar panel production, they will never touch this. Why do they not come back to the temperature reconstructions over the last 1,000 or 2,000 years and show you the variability that is naturally occurring? Climate Depot, nice statement. The U.S. CLEXIT is a victory for science. I will absolutely agree. President Trump, make science great again. This is the timeline I see going out for the amplification of the grand solar minimum. At the last half of this year in 2017, doubling the amount of change from 2016 to 2017. That entire year of change is going to be compressed into a single 6-month increment. And then as we go from 2018 to 2019, that's going to be a 4x amplification. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. And if you like this type of work that I'm doing, please support me on Patreon. I'll keep more stories like this coming to you. You can also run down a few different posts that I'm putting up on oilseedcrops.org.